All right, so coming back.
Can you send me that link about him saying the N-word? That is insane.
That's an insane.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Tyron Millie's like whiter than me. Was he saying like colloquially?
He was doing like the colloquial.
Oh, okay.
You know,
I legit thought he was a leprechaun the first time I saw his head. Like I thought he was a fictional character.
Hey, Millie.
Yeah, a little bit.
There was no treasure at the end of that rainbow.
No.
Is before we move on from, and thanks again to Andres for the great context that he gave us from an Argentinian perspective, but like broader than that, do you guys feel like this is one of those? I don't know, one of those. They don't really exist, but like this rug pull idea, this meme coin thing. This is like I almost want to say like a victimless crime politically, where you can just get away with this stuff. Like what? I feel like anybody can just do this. I mean, the other day,
it's legal.
Dave Portnoy was on Twitter saying like he was doing like a Twitter live, or he posted a video of himself, and he was just like, "Oh yeah, I'm over here fucking ripping people off on this shit. Nobody can stop me. I think it shouldn't be legal, but it is. Look, I'm doing it right now."
Yeah.
I don't support this in any way, shape, or form, and I don't think it's good. And I don't, I don't want to blame the people that this is perpetrated against. But I will say, come on, yo, like it is 2025. Like enough investing in the meme coins. Like you really should know by now.
Yeah,
it is.
Like yeah,
it's like buying it's like someone tells you, "Do you want a hot potato?" and you buy it thinking, "Well, I'll just be able to pass it to someone else." It's not something you want to hold, and everyone who buys it knows that. That's the thing.
Yeah, and just so that people can see that we're reasonable. Look, if you buy Bitcoin, more than likely your money's going to hold value or increase. So I'm not saying that you're going to lose money on Bitcoin, right? I don't like it as a political project, but that's the truth. But if you're buying fucking Haktua coin or Melania coin or Francis Suarez coin, whatever the fuck, like, come on, people.
Yeah.
That's your money.
There is a serious contingent. Not serious. I don't think any of these people are serious. I think they're all jokes, and they should all be dragged through the streets. But like, there is a serious contingent of like quote unquote crypto investors that you can see, and they're conservative. They are like cool Elon Musk, right wing, neo, whatever you want, whatever the word is for that.
Epic Silicon Valley heads, basically.
Epic Silicon Valley dudes, and they hate when these things kick off because it fouls their market. It
makes them all look stupid. Yeah.
It makes them all look stupid. It fouls up the market that they're actually interested in, whether it's like whatever, fucking like NFTs or fucking Bitcoin or Ethereum, because it fucks with everything. That it like when you drop one of these big, I don't know if Libra was really that big, but like Trump coin.
Well, it's big now that a fucking president.
Yeah.
But like Trump coin, for example, if you look through a lot of the announcements of Trump coin and go like, down in some of the blue check responses, you'll see a lot of them are like, especially when he launched Melania the next day, they're pissed off. They're like, you're fucking up this system. Like you're cannibalizing it. And it's, I mean, fuck them. I honestly don't give a shit, but it is kind of funny. This feels like the way that I've always, since like 2016 or 2017, the way that I've always described Bitcoin specifically is the only evergreen Ponzi scheme. A Ponzi scheme that you can just keep doing over and over. Because people will just, it's like if Bernie Madoff got caught and then like a year later, everybody was like, you know what? Have you seen Bernie Madoff is actually back up? Like, we should invest more in Bernie Madoff. Yeah. He's back up. It's like, yeah, but it's a Ponzi scheme. I know, but it's up.
Yeah.
And so.
And it's kind of, I mean, Sam Bankman-Fried went to jail, but they just made an example out of that, guys. Like the whole industry could churn along. Yeah. But there is mostly like rug pulling is legal.
Yeah, the only way you go to jail in this country for financial crimes is if you rip off wealthy people. And that's what Sam Bankman-Fried did. He ripped off a bunch of investors who were wealthy. Oh. Look at the Theranos woman and Bernie Madoff. The only way you end up in jail is when you rip off rich people.
If you fuck with wealthy people.
Yeah, and I will say though, like there are. Like insider trading, yes, most people get away with it, especially politicians, but it is illegal. Like you do have to be careful on how you do it. This shit, like you really don't have to be that careful.
Yeah, insider trading is just like a very low IQ test.
Basically. Yeah, exactly.
So that's fun, and that augurs well for our financial future as everything else is going
I read
great around us.
The last thing I'll say about these are like the largest cases of fraud in human history. Like we are seeing unprecedented levels of connery and scamming and fraud.
It is a liposuction tube that you can just put up to the fat belly of regular people, regular dumbass people that invest in crypto, and just slurp it out. And with there's nothing stopping it.
So guys, it's your money. Come on, Jesus fucking Christ.
So we're doing things a little backwards today. We finished our main topic, and again, thank you to Andres for joining us. And I just wanted to go over a few news and notes to round out the episode. One of them is I hit the jackpot, boys.
Idea.
I hit the jackpot. Fucking bite your tongue. Don't say this. We give our governor a lot of shit, but every once in a while he comes up with a great idea.
It's a bad idea.
Brilliant idea. And this is from News Nation. Ron DeSantis supports idea to eliminate property taxes. Hell yes. Let's do it. I can't imagine there'll be any like knock-on effect of that. Like they'll probably just you stop paying it and then that's that.
Which, by the way, it says here North Dakota rejected a bid to do this last November, but Florida won't. Like if they put this statewide, we will vote for it, and it's gonna be so bad.
Yeah, but you know what? There'll be more freedom because, as DeSantis says, these taxes, property taxes, are quote oppressive. This is from News Nation. The movement to eliminate property taxes is gaining momentum across the country. Florida's statewide budget mostly comes from the sales tax. Local governments lean on property taxes to help fund services like police, fire, and schools. Now, Governor Ron DeSantis.
Yeah, but we're getting rid of those, so we don't need those anymore. Especially the schools.
I didn't know that Ron DeSantis was ACAB, but you know what? I guess he is. We learn something new every day. Now,
you're gonna have private. No, you're gonna have libertarian private military forces that only certain people will be able to afford.
The worst part is that the Democrats are going to combat this solely by saying some like dumb shit like, "Look at DeSantis wants to defund the police."
Yeah, that's the only thing they can ever do. It's like
a counter press conference flanked by every single sheriff in Florida because they don't actually care if they lose like revenue or not. You know, as long as they just get like, they can suck on the political tit of DeSantis and, by association Trump. And it's just not gonna. Democrats, if you're listening to this,
it doesn't work.
Don't do that. It's not gonna work.
They could most Florida counties and sheriff's offices could subsist like just on their asset forfeiture revenue. They take like billions of dollars of shit away from. If they catch you with like $5,000 on you, they just take it. Yeah. And then you have to like go through an enormous annoying process.
This will be existential for public schools, though.
Yeah, no, public schools were already kind of on death row in this state for a while now, and I feel like this is just the death knell, and this is the final nail in the coffin.
Like that's basically it's just them massaging everything in this direction. Like I'm sure whatever they have to do to keep in real life the police departments and the fire departments going, they'll do. But this does just seem like let's massage every school towards a charter situation. I don't see what else the play would be. Also, if they're fun with sales taxes, isn't it the libertarian argument that sales taxes are also oppressive? So, so aren't they going to have to eat their own face eventually if they're going to follow that logic all the way down? Which of course they won't. But then why not just also that would be better at least than. Oh, they're the real ones defunding the police. Would be Democrats trying to become the party of we're going to abolish the sales tax also.
Isn't it true, Gerald, that in the UK aren't they like they are like the Conservative Party in the UK? It's like it actually is anti-police funding, and it always throws off Americans where they'll be like where the Tories will be like, oh yeah, let's get rid of let's defund the cops. That's public spending. And Americans are like, whoa, wait, fucking what? What's that?
They're looked at more like here the cops are looked at basically as like diet troops. Like they're here as like an occupying force to maintain social order. Over there, yes, more closely resembling they're just another arm of government. They're just another bureaucratic institution, basically. So yes, you can get away with more. I don't want to say anti-cop, but you probably a defund movement would probably get more play in the UK, but probably on the line of like Tory, like upper middle class people who don't feel the need for police, anyway, because they're ensconced in these lanes of wealth.
Yeah, I mean, I'm being obviously facetious when I was as a homeowner, when I was trumpeting this at the beginning of this little news story, but I do think there is something to the idea of like if you pay off your house, I feel like you should like there should be a mechanism in place where like you can't lose it, like to outstanding tax bills or something like that. I mean, and I feel like that's kind of a common sense thing, and maybe it's the kind of thing that you can debate a little bit at a policy level. And it's not like I'm doctrinaire about it or whatever, but that's the foot in the door. I've noticed rhetorically that they're using, that a lot of supporters of DeSantis are using. They're being like, oh yeah, you never in America, in this country, you never actually own your house. The government can just take it away at any time. And then the bridge is being like from there to let's never pay property taxes again.
That's so infantile. Of course your house can get taken away if you don't fucking pay for the
upkeep of your community.
And like the fucking running water and electricity grid that you're hooked up to. Like you don't own that shit, buddy.
Yeah.
And you benefit from it. So yeah, you gotta pay up into those things.
So here's an example, like a counter example. And you guys
get off the fucking grid, man.
You guys tell me what you think. Exactly, like plugging into municipal services and the value that your house has, partly because it's part of a functional community, right? And like, yeah, you have to pay for that.
And you know what? You can't get off the grid because I don't want to live next to a fucking house that doesn't have running water or electricity.
Yeah.
Like nobody wants that.
That's one of the reasons that FPL doesn't let you just run your house off of solar. Like they have the system set up where you can't run
that I disagree with. I think once you meet a certain standard of upkeep to your house, you should be able to go off the grid.
I don't want to get like pulled off on a weird topic, but like that is because that's FPL's own fault. And what they say is that it's because it's dangerous because of like back charges, like it can be like whatever incendiary or whatever. But that's because their grid sucks ass. Yeah. But my point was this: so like my house right now is part of an area that is being considered. It's in unincorporated Miami-Dade County, but it's being considered at one of the very like Tony upscale cities here in Miami is trying to absorb the street that my house is on. That's great for me. If it happens, I might pay a few $100s more in taxes every year, but immediately my house will go up 30% in value because it'll be absorbed by this municipality, right? That's great. I've got people on my block who I'll never, if it comes to like a referendum or something, I'll never be able to convince them of it because they're elderly, they're on fixed incomes, and they can't take that $300, $400, $500 a year tax hit that will come from joining this municipality and the other little associated taxes here and there. It would be great for my elderly neighbors to not have to be worried about that stuff. And for if there is something like empirically good, like joining a municipality that is very functional and has better services than the county, for all of us to be able to say, fuck yes, please let us join your city. But they can't. And I get their point because like this guy right here, they can't do it because they live on Social Security and the money that they make from renting out extra rooms. So I would support something like that. And I think a lot of people who do are going to end up supporting DeSantis on this if it ends up becoming
100%. They'll support him.
Yeah,
100%. No worry. Everything you're saying is moot because you will no longer have to pay property taxes within the space of 2 years. Yeah. So.
Oh my god!
But your kid goes to public school, right?
Yeah, so not for long, I guess. Not for long. Yeah. I gotta thread the needle just right to that point where, like, there's gonna be a point where the house tops out in value before the community around it begins to dissolve and just absolutely crater. Yeah. And that's when I have to sell.
It's so high.
It's so high, baby.
It's like Libra coin, just slower.
Our next two stories are about parks, guys. Let's have a little day in the park. The first park story that I want to talk to you about involves somebody that we've already mentioned once on the episode so far, which is our city mayor, Francis Suarez, who has constructed a little bit of, who would have thought, a bait and switch when it comes to city funds that were aimed at basically building up another big white elephant in the middle of our county. For those who remember 18 years ago now, the Miami Marlins, then Florida Marlins, and David Sampson just absolutely bamboozled the shit out of us. We are still paying for that today. Our kids are going to be paying for it. We'll be paying for that stadium in the middle of Little Havana that maybe 2,000-3,000 people go to per game. For well into the coming decades, we'll be paying for that. And you can file this story right underneath that one. Bait and switch. City vote. This is from WLRN. City votes to send Inter Miami, the local soccer club with David Beckham, Inter Miami's $10 million for public parks back to their own project. An ex-Miami city commissioner has threatened to recall his former colleagues now that $10 million from developers that was meant to build new parks citywide has shifted to maintain one park already under construction. At a public meeting Thursday, Miami city commissioners voted to lock in $20 million from the owner of the pro soccer club Inter Miami to be used exclusively for improvement and maintenance of Miami Freedom Park, which the Inter Miami owners are responsible for building on the site of the former Melreese Country Club. Ken Russell, your boy.
You're fucking shameless. I have a lot to say about this.
Yeah. Ken Russell,
fuck this.
A former commissioner who voted on the city's lease. I'm just going to tell you guys, I've been podcasting about Miami for like a few years, even before this show. And when people reach out to me and say, hey, I would like to be on your show, I'm pretty amenable. It's very rare that I just ghost them and don't return their emails.
You ghosted.
I ghosted.
Respect.
I did.
Nice.
So anyway, Ken Russell, a former commissioner who voted on the city's lease with the Freedom Park developer, said that the move was a bait and switch. He argues that the commission voted 3 years ago that half the $20 million would go toward the creation of new parks on city-owned land, and this new resolution contradicts the commission's own pledge.
Can I just gonna chime in?
Yeah.
Okay, this was a terrible real estate deal. They basically sold Miami's largest piece of public land, the Melreese Park, at 2018 prices. They sold that in 2022, right? In 2022. Again, those 4 years make a lot of fucking difference in terms of price value, in terms of property price value, because in those years, as we all know, Miami property value skyrocketed. And they did a 99-year, no bid. There was no bidding on this lease, 99-year lease that was supposed to be reviewed every 36 years or so, right? Ken was a no vote. And I think we have episodes of this podcast on it. We've had Billy to talk about this. Yep. We were really, really involved in fighting against it, right, and calling it out. And Billy Corbin, right, was leading the charge on that. We went to the commission meetings. We were on the press. We did podcasts. We did Twitter Spaces at the time. Ken was a no vote until the day of the vote. He decided to switch his vote because halfway through the meeting, they recessed. They took him to a back room. God knows what happened in that back room because he came back.
They took out the bamboo shoots.
He came back pale as a sheet of paper. Didn't say a single word for the rest of the meeting and voted for it on the auspice of having negotiated this great community benefit package that was not a great benefits community package.
The reality of that situation is that back then, Ken Russell still had a political future, which he does not have anymore.
Who knows, honestly. That was shady as hell. But he was warned, and I told him this on one of his Instagram posts about this the other day. I was like, and he actually admitted that I was correct. He was warned by me, by Billy, by you guys, by City of Miami activists, by residents. Hey, they're gonna rug pull us. They're going to eventually put public money on this deal. They're gonna subsidize it. And he was like, no, there's no public money involved. That's why I voted for it. Of course there was public money involved, and now we're seeing. So Ken, what he's trying to do, because Ken still thinks that he has a political future, and he doesn't. In fact, the only person involved in one of these Miami-Dade sports welfare real estate hustles that has a political future, who's now the property appraiser of Miami-Dade County, was Tomas Regalado. And why does he have a political future? Because he stopped the Inter-Miami deal back when it was supposed to be at the Orange Bowl.
Right.
They've been trying to build this stadium at the Miami Airlines site, at the Orange Bowl site, in Overtown, and Tomas Regalado. Credit where credit's due. That guy stopped it when he was city of Miami mayor, and he's now elected county-wide, right? But all of these other grifters and hustlers and hucksters, their political careers have basically ceilinged out after doing this. And Ken, he's just going on, I'm sorry, he's just going on WLRN and social media trying to pretend like he was above it and he got swindled along with the rest of us. No, man, you didn't get swindled along with the rest of us. You swindled us.
Tell us what happened in that room.
Huh?
Tell us what happened in that room then,
Correct.
and then, but if you're not going to tell us what happened to change your vote, then what's the point of doing all of this public hand-wringing?
And Gerald, like, he was not just a throwaway vote on this. Like, his no vote wasn't just a messaging. He was the swing vote. If you would have voted no, this deal would have
gone down.
Killed.
Yeah.
So, Ken, spare me.
From the article, when retired soccer player David Beckham, who I don't think I've mentioned yet, but that he is the owner of the Inter, if you don't already know that, he's the owner of the Inter Miami team. And his partners, Beckham's partners, brothers George and Jose Mas of the construction firm Mastec, approached the city to build a soccer stadium on the city-owned Melreese golf course land. The idea was met with pushback from the residents and some elected officials. Residents lamented the loss of one of the largest parcels. If you've flown into Miami, you know this. You know what we're talking about. This was like you could see a huge. Usually, depending on where you come in, you see a huge golf course underneath you. That's the plot that we're talking about. It was 131 acres, and to get over the hurdle, the developers operating under Miami Freedom Park LLC offered to build a 58-acre public park adjacent to the stadium to be called Miami Freedom Park. They also agreed to a number of public benefits. And you recognize this stuff if you've been paying attention for very long, or if you just have Google and you want to go back. Here's how you do it: you set the dates for 2007 to 2010, and you look up Florida Marlins Stadium, and you're going to see just an onslaught of press releases promising economic development in Little Havana, promising storefront walkable areas on not Flagler, Northwest 7, a new economic development zone. Oh, we're gonna have fucking indoor skydiving and batting cages and all this shit and all. And if you walk through that fucking area today, you know what you find? You find a really and this is saying something, a gross Wendy's and not much else. There's nothing in that fucking area. It's dead, just like it was 15 years ago. But you know what's not dead? All the motherfuckers that made money off of it, and some got fucking recalled, like Carlos Alvarez and people like that. It's a moment in your career where you make a decision like, you know what? Here's my cash in moment. Fuck the people. I know that they're gonna kick me out of office in a couple of years because I'm doing this, but I'm gonna have box seats to see Messi play for a few years, or it's a trade off, and they all traded us off.
And those Inter Miami tickets are really expensive now that Messi's playing there. So I get it.
I do think it's very funny that Messi has been playing at fucking Lockhart Stadium up in.
It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. As an Argentinian, I'm embarrassed, dude. It's embarrassing. It's disgraceful.
A soccer.
I hate to say it. He should have just gone and played for Saudi Arabia.
If you're just gonna do
there would be more dignity in it.
There is, honestly. I hate to say it.
All right. And then our final story of the day. I promised you 2 park stories, and this one comes courtesy of NBC6 South Florida, but everybody was writing about this. Board votes to here's in the city instead of in it's in the city.
Which, by the way, there is also a Walt connection to this, the chicken protest. But
the chicken protest, we're gonna mention the chicken protests. Board votes to this is from NBC6. Board votes to remove Miami Commissioner Joe Carroyo as head of the Bayfront Park Trust. Commissioner Joe Carroyo has run the trust, but in a whistleblower lawsuit filed last month, he was accused of misusing funds. That can't be right.
What?
Joe Carroyo?
No.
Misusing
No.
That's weird. They must. I hope they check their facts.
Yeah.
The control of Miami's Bayfront Park Trust is no longer in the hands of Commissioner Joe Carroyo. At Thursday's commission meeting, the board voted 3-2 to put Commissioner Miguel Gabela in charge of the trust, removing Carroyo from the position. The vote on the future of
the most possible marginal improvement.
Yes.
like just
it's
the
very
lowest of the lowest
Gerald,
of the bars.
what's the Futurama where it's the two presidents and he's like, and I think President Johnson's proposal doesn't not go far enough.
Just God damn it.
At Thursday's commission meeting, the board voted 3-2. I read that. Bayfront Park is a popular spot that hosts concerts and community events. It generates a lot of money for the city. The person who runs it is in a powerful position. Am I crazy, or does it seem like Carollo had sort of scooped up a lot of these like sort of honorariums in his career, where he was like the guy in charge of like this commission subcommittee and slush funds. Yes, exactly. He had like scooped up all of these little slush funds, and he's like, I think it's probably smart considering that he currently owes $70 million,
$65
to remove him from these positions.
Super smart.
Like, I don't know what. Explain to everybody the Walt chicken connection.
Basically, there is this like idiotic park by Bayfront, and Carollo, as part of this Bayfront Trust bullshit, was in charge of redeveloping it. And what they did is there's this park in Cali that has a bunch of statues of different cats. So inspired by that, they made a bunch of statues of dogs, and I think there's some cats along this walkway in Bayfront Park. And basically it cost over $1 million to do this, to put some stupid looking colorful statues of dogs all over the place. And there is no justification for why this cost over $1 million. And it turns out that Carollo's wife was involved with this, quote unquote redevelopment, and she hired her friend who was a quote unquote artist to do this and paid him off. And a lot of the money was nebulous where it went, and the Bayfront Trust was not, had not approved of this expenditure or project, and people had resigned because of the way it was moved forward. So we did a protest where people were dressed as chickens, and they were wearing this mugshot of when Carollo was arrested for domestic abuse after his 11-year-old daughter, 9-year-old daughter called the police on them. He was mayor at the time, and they arrested the chickens. One of them, the charges were dropped eventually. It was all over Miami, local media. But there's always a Walt connection. There's always a Walt connection, fellas. But it's a brighter day in Miami. The Bayfront Trust has been stripped away from Joe Carollo, and now it's in the hands of Miguel Gallardo. Wow, what a sunny day in Miami.
Nature is healing.
Yeah, sunshine, the greatest disinfectant. Is that what they say?
To finish up, Carollo, we mentioned, in all fairness, he denies that he did anything wrong and had his own item that would have abolished the trust and created a special department within the existing park. And that was kind of
I think that was for broken clock. That might have been the best option.
No, but I read this article doesn't get into it, but I read the TikTok of how that like went down, that meeting, and it sounded like he did that out of like recrimination, almost like, well, let's just abolish it then. Like that was his thing.
Sure, but does it? I mean, should we have this freaking slush fund that is controlled by these like corrupt grifter commissioners? I don't know, probably not.
Oh, well, that's all I got for you guys. And look at that. We've gone through a whole hour. No internet problems with Tomas because he's actually here.
I'm going to come to David's
Tomas has been removed from his internet slush fund, so he's no longer going to be in charge of replacing him with David Quinones to manage internet speeds.
Actually, I was this whole time I've been a psyop for Carollo. Basically,
to
legitimize him by having a cooked leftist as opposition, and I was that was paying for my electricity bill, my internet bill, and I've been cut off, so I have to come here now.
I thought USAID was paying for your electricity bill.
That too. Tough times in the Kennedy household right now, man. He's going through the austerity.
Yeah, the name has been besmirched. It used to mean something in this country. Actually, the Kennedy name used to be hated in Miami.
Oh, yeah.
Why? Because JFK didn't send the planes during the Bay of Pigs. I've been completely rehabilitated now, I guess, to the MAGA Cuban American community.
They one of my first assignments.
It's been a roller coaster ride, David.
One of my first assignments was when I first moved here was, I don't know what it was. It had to be some. It was a commemorative. One of the last days before they knocked down the Orange Bowl, they had it was commemorating Kennedy's famous speech at the Orange Bowl, and they had the what was it, like the Alpha 66 guys and the fucking Brigade 1308 or what was it, Brigade, all the Cuban,
some brigade,
all the Cubans that got their dicks kicked in the Bay of Pigs and their fucking asses handed to them. But they were all there because they were
JFK did not send the planes.
I was interviewing them, and they were like, and they would just like, to a man, they'd be like, yeah, it was crazy. They'd be having like some heartrending story, and then about like landing and training and difficulty, and then they'd be like, and then that pussy motherfucker JFK didn't support us.
To be fair, like there was kind of an expectation that those planes were going to get sent. Last minute, he did kind of pussy out and left them hanging in the beach of. In the beaches of Cuba.
Yeah,
I mean, fucked up. I get it.
I don't know. I've heard. Gerald's a little more of a student of history than me, so maybe he knows. But like, isn't it that like people say that fucking what's his name, the CIA director, like sprung that on him, like the weekend or whatever, and it had been warned the pain of it, but it was really like it was sprung on him.
The plan was basically hatched, if I remember, in the second Eisenhower administration. But I don't think they could get the okay on it. What is it? And then they basically brought it early to Kennedy, and then Kennedy said okay. I think if this, correct me if I'm wrong, own me if I'm incorrect, what have you. I believe there was another issue where the operation took place during a full moon, so that everything that was happening offshore was fully visible to what is it, to the Cuban military.
Well, it was a bad plan. Well executed. I mean, poorly executed. And to be fair, as you guys know, I'm not a Castro fan, but that motherfucker did do it without no planes. I mean, he did land there without no planes, so
Yeah.
With 12 guys, was it? He landed.
Yeah.
After they got head scoped.
Yeah. All right, that's a good place to stop. I think.